Okay. Okay, Mayor, I've unmuted you and you can start your meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2020. The time is 6:37. We are up and running. Thank you, Jackie, for getting all those kinks out of the way. And so this is the first attempt to hold a virtual meeting with the council. So we have a fairly short agenda tonight, but we want to show the community that we can use technology to continue city business safely. This is our first venture, so please bear with us. All city council members, city staff are participating from remote locations. All votes are going to be taken by roll call vote. The members of the public can watch our meeting on YouTube, Zoom, or city website. City council members, we have to make sure that only one person speaks at a time. I will call on every member to make sure you have had an opportunity to speak. I will now ask City Clerk Renteria to start our roll call, please.
Okay. Okay, Mayor Guerrero
Here.
is here. Deputy Mayor Stremler. Not here. Councillor Farmer. Councillor Farmer.
Asking for Farmer or Stremler?
Stremler's here. Okay, we just did Stremler.
I'm here.
We'll move on to Councillor Henry.
I'm here.
Councillor Restucci.
I'm here, Jackie.
Councillor Hicks.
Councillor Hicks has requested an excused absence.
Councillor Boersma.
I am here.
Okay, so it looks like we just are missing Councillor Farmer.
Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes.
If you have Councilor Farmer's cell phone, try it, because he was trying to connect with his home phone.
Okay, I can call his cell phone. I sent it the new meeting to him.
Okay. I know I talked to him late this afternoon. He said he's going to use a cell phone. I don't know if he has checked his email or not.
Okay. Okay, I'll move on to staff. City Manager Casey.
Present.
I am here. Finance Director Alba.
Here.
Fire Chief Anderson. I know he's here. Police Chief Escalera.
I'm here.
Public Works Director Fisher.
Here.
Okay.
And Jackie,
Yes.
this is Jim Restucci. You need to rename Chief Anderson. That's actually Chief Escalera.
So this one. Okay. All right. Well, Mayor, let me see. We have one more person coming in. Who was the last person that just signed in?
That was me. This is Chief Anderson. I'm gonna have to do it off my phone because mic doesn't work on the computer here.
Okay, and then I have one more person. I'm gonna It's ending in 158.
That should be Ron Stremler.
Okay.
Stremler is here.
So I have two Stremlers. Do I? No, I don't. Okay. Do you want me to try to call Counselor Farmer, Mayor?
Yes, go ahead and get a hold of him and see if he got the new meeting code.
Okay.
Everyone staying safe during the pandemic.
We're trying.
I feel pretty safe. I feel like the town has definitely taken steps in doing the right thing. It's been a little busy the last couple days, but I mean, that's to be expected. It's getting to be asparagus season and picking and ready for hops. So going to be a lot of people out.
Okay, I just talked to Counselor Farmer and he is going to try to connect again.
Okay. So meanwhile, we'll ask if anyone has an objection to council member being excused for today's meeting. This was council member Hicks who had requested an excused absence. Ms. City Clerk, can you just do a roll call for this?
Sure. Deputy Mayor Stremler?
Here.
No objection to excusing Counselor Hicks' absence today?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. Counselor Henry?
No objection.
Counselor Restucci?
No objection.
Counselor Boersma?
No objection.
And we just got, I think, Counselor Farmer, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so right now we're seeing if everyone wants to excuse Counselor Hicks' absence today. Do you have an objection?
I do not.
Okay, and Mayor Guerrero?
No objection.
Okay. Okay, I have that recorded.
Okay, we'll move on to the first item on our agenda, which is a public comment report. Pursuant to Governor's Proclamation 20-28 related to suspending certain provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act during the COVID-19 pandemic, no in-person public comments will be accepted. Residents have and may continue submitting written comments in advance via email to the city clerk. Council may refer items to staff to review and/or research for presentation at a future council meeting. Our city manager, Martin Casey, will now read the public comments received, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Martin Casey. We received one written public comment from Mr. Robert Van Billiard of Franklin Avenue in Sunnyside. He wrote to request that the council in the future consider extending the deferral of late fees and utility shutoffs He is an essential worker. However, his work activity is stopped, and he described how it's a hardship for him and others in the community, and asked for the council's consideration of that at a future meeting.
Thank you for that comment.
And
Got
that's the only
submitted.
comment we received.
Excellent, thank you. So up next, we have our consent agenda, which consists of the approval minutes for March 9th, 2020 regular meeting, the minutes for the March 23rd, 2020 regular meeting, approved payroll vouchers number 118720 through 118724, and wire transfers as listed for $534,060.78 for the period ending on March 25th, 2020. Approved claim vouchers, vouchers numbers 98748 through 98783, and wire transfers as listed for $194,084.98 for the period ending on March 18th, 2020. Voucher numbers 98784 through 98853, and wire transfers as listed for $226,858.54 for the period ending on March 25th, 2020. Voucher numbers 98854 through 98882, and wire transfers as listed for $428,349.12 for the period ending on April 1st, 2020. Any questions on our consent agenda? And up first, we'll have Deputy Mayor Stremler. Any questions or comments on our consent agenda?
No, I have none.
Councilor Farmer?
No.
Councilor Henry?
No comments on it, no.
Councilor Restucci?
No comments, Mr. Mayor, and I would move if there's no other comments.
Okay, Councilor Hicks? He's not here today. Councilor Borsma?
No, I have no comments, sir.
And no comments for myself either. So Councilor Restucci, do you want to go ahead and
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
okay,
This
moved by
is John Henry.
moved by Council Member Restucci, second by Council Member John Henry. Any debate or questions on this item? Hearing no debate, what is the, actually, City Clerk, will you do the roll call vote on this item?
Okay, Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Henry,
Yay.
Councilor Restucci,
Yay.
Councilor Borsma.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes, motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, we have our active agenda, which item A consists of East Edison Avenue Half-Street Improvement Addendum. Consider authorizing the city manager to execute an addendum to the East Edison Avenue Improvement Project to allow HLA Engineering to redesign the sidewalk and travel lanes along East Edison Avenue adjacent to the Valley Mall. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This item is a project that actually predates my arrival. In 2017, the city submitted a grant application to the Transportation Improvement Board for funding to make some important safety and sidewalk improvements on the north side of East Edison from Yakima Valley Highway east towards Barnard Street. It has taken quite a bit of time, though, to navigate some right-of-way acquisition, and after reaching, unfortunately, an impasse in that process, we've worked with HLA to identify a modest redesign that would allow us to continue with the project and complete it before the funding deadline expires later this year. So this amendment represents a small change in scope, and so we need to bring this to council for review and approval, and I'll invite Public Works Director Shane Fisher to expand on that explanation and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Casey, members of council. No, that was a great explanation. Basically the right-of-way agent, on the 4th of February, we got together on a phone call and had decided to give them all one opportunity to resubmit the paperwork back to us with the signatures for the agreed upon right-of-way acquisition. Gave them until March 1st. Didn't hear anything as we move forward with doing a redesign. So it is a very modest number, $12,000, and that is to move the sidewalk basically out into the westbound travel lane. It will narrow up that intersection on that side a little bit, but it is there is enough right-of-way there existing to make that happen. There will be some challenges with trucks turning right, which will be, if you're on Yakima Valley Highway, they'll be turning eastbound onto East Edison. That is a very acute angle right there at O'Reilly's, and it will cause some challenges for getting trucks around that corner. Big trucks will not be able to make it, but we will do some turning movements once we get everything laid out, get the lanes painted back up, and see what we can do there. But as it stands now, we do have enough right of way, and we are looking to move forward. I can answer any questions you have on that.
Okay, we'll go down the list of council members so they can have, if you have any questions. Council member, Deputy Mayor Stremler.
I have a very big concern, and that's what Mr. Fisher just alluded to, that trucks are going to have a very hard time making the right-hand turn onto East Edison. I feel something has to be done, because if they're going to make the turn and then trucks are going to hit that post the way it is now, it's been hit occasionally in the past already, I believe.
Yeah.
We have to do. I feel we got to do something on that.
Yeah, and what we may do, if I can speak again, what we may do on that is the idea was to put up a no right turn for large trucks, especially like tandem tractor trailers. Smaller tractor trailers can make that turn, but a 53-foot trailer more than likely will not. I'm about 100% sure currently that a 53-footer could make that turn. We've had the pedestrian crossing button ripped off that post quite a few times since I've been here. But that's something we'll definitely take a look at. If we can't get the big trucks around the corner, then we'll just have to post a sign that says no right turn for trucks, for commercial vehicles.
Councilmember Farmer.
A couple comments. Was there any personal contact made to the mall people to find out what the deal was, why there was no answer to the request?
Yes, they won't return phone calls. Between myself, HLA, and the Yakima County right-of-way agent, Marlene, we could never get a return call, nor can we get the documents back that we'd sent them several times.
The next comment, I agree with Deputy Mayor Stremler. This is going to cause all kinds of troubles, and I don't know if I would wish to proceed. We're going to have to change the routing for truck route there. I can just see all kinds of problems there, and I don't think at this particular point in time that I think would be in our best interest to go ahead and redesign that and then not be able to have trucks make that corner. It's a turn to 241. It's an important turn. It's an important road, and I just don't think if we can't do it to where these trucks can travel safely and make the corner, or we got to have some kind of a plan or to route them around so they can make that turn. So I just got some real problems here.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, this is City Manager. East Edison between Yakima Valley Highway and 241 is not a designated truck route from WashDOT or the state of Washington. So it is, while it is true that, as Shane mentioned, trucks do sometimes try to make that turn, it is not the approved or designated truck route through that part of the area. I understand and appreciate the concerns about wanting to see if there can be a way to properly sign that and discourage the very large rigs from going through. Smaller trucks, the small box trucks and those kinds of things, this shouldn't interfere with their ability to make those turns at all. But I do want to clarify, it's not currently the approved truck route for going from YVH on to 241.
Thank you for that. Councilor Farmer, any further questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, Councilor Henry.
Go ahead.
Councilor Henry, questions?
Oh, I just have a comment. I think Yakima Valley Highway is our new hub, our new downtown. I like to see any sort of action on beautifying it or making it better. That's a terrible truck route. It's already marked no trucks on that area. So my comment is to stop fearing change and to start embracing the improvements that our leaders are bringing to us. For some council members, okay, like it's not a bad thing to beautify our city, and it's not a bad thing to change a little bit. We're gonna be less trucks down there and more people shopping. Yay, so be it. So I'd like to go ahead and move on this one when the time comes. Thank you.
Councilor Restucci?
No comments at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Boersma?
Okay, thanks. I have a couple. First of all, I don't know how legal looks at these different things, but as I'm looking at this paper, you're calling that Valley Mall. Valley Mall is actually in Union Gap. We're talking about Mid Valley Mall here in Sunnyside. The second thing is a lot of comments are made about trucks, and a couple of comments saying it is not a truck route and it may be somewhat irrelevant for trucks. We have a mall there and we have a grocery store, and both of those need to be supplied, and it will be trucks that supply them. So we're going to have to think this through. If you look at the loading bays for the grocery store, they are backing in off of East Edison, and when they depart, they will be leaving off East Edison. And neither intersection is real favorable to large trucks, either making a turn from Yakima Valley Highway onto East Edison or making a turn from Highway 241 on East Edison because of the bridge over the canal. So it does bear some consideration. I'm in favor of beautifying it as well, but we do need to think about some of the practical applications. We're going to have trucks get in and they're going to have to get out. Maybe not double trailers, but we're going to have some trucks come in. And then, and this question for Mr. Fisher, is there not already a sidewalk along the parking lot of the Mid Valley Mall?
There is not.
Okay, I always thought there was.
Yeah, people actually walk through the mall on the asphalt is actually where they walk.
Okay, well that clears that up for me then. Thanks.
Yep.
A question for you, Shane. So if we were to pursue the right of way to try to get that from Mid Valley Mall, would that make any difference in the radius of turn for those big trucks?
If we were to acquire it through the right of way agent, no. I mean, really, it's 5 feet is what we're talking. We're basically sliding the travel lanes, really, on that center turn lane between the eastbound and westbound traffic is only moving a couple feet. We're picking up the other few feet in the east or the westbound travel lanes in the turn lane. So the center line's not moving a whole lot, just a few feet, but it is enough to make it even tighter than it currently is. So to answer your question, if we had acquired it from the mall properly, it's still a tight corner, regardless of how you look at it. But it is a little bit more tight with moving the sidewalk.
Thank you.
And Mr. Fisher,
I have another comment here.
Councilor Farmer, go ahead.
Also on the information we got, it would have to be changed because it says it will not eliminate the option for large truck semi to turn eastbound onto East Edison, and we're saying it is. So we're gonna have to change that sentence with HLA.
It's not going to eliminate it. It would just. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, can you, I'm sorry, sir, could you point out where you're seeing that in which document?
The last paragraph. It says, but will not eliminate the option for large truck semis to turn eastbound on East Edison off Yakima Valley Highway.
Is that on the cover sheet or on the?
It's the last paragraph on the cover sheet, Martin.
Correct.
Actually, the second to the last sentence.
I'm sorry, I'm confused because my copy of it says it will eliminate. There is enough room to fit all of this in our current right-of-way, but it will eliminate the option for large trucks to turn eastbound. That's part of the agenda cover sheet?
That's what I'm saying. It will eliminate. And we're saying that it won't.
Cover sheet.
On the cover sheet.
Okay, on the cover sheet that I'm looking at, it says it will eliminate.
Correct. And we're saying, and you're saying it won't.
I didn't say it would not. I said it would eliminate for the very large trucks, like the double rigs that Mr. Fisher talked about. But for smaller box trucks, it would not. It only would eliminate the very large trucks.
Correct.
Right.
I would like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, this is Deputy Mayor Strummer. I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, sir.
A lot of the trucks that go into Fiesta Food are 53-footers, and they're coming from out of town. You can say we put up a sign. We got signs directing them not to go up the hill as well. There's semis ending up on the hill all the time. We're going to end up with trucks going into the turn and find out they can't make it. Now they got to try to back up into the traffic on YDH. I see it being a huge problem. You can put up signs all day unless you have a good sign that has flashing lights and everything else on it. They're going to make that turn. And then the second part of that is the turn at the other end of Edison Avenue at 241 is equally as bad already. If we do a bottleneck here, we got a bottleneck at both ends for delivery trucks coming in.
So looking at the map, it looks like they come in from the WorkSource street, and then they back into those stores from the map that Jackie had up a few minutes ago. So I see them backed up in there. So they would exit on East Edison, either take a right or a left in there. So it seems like they would be going into East Edison. So I guess the turn going south on Yakima Valley Highway, is that the turn that we're mostly concerned, or the turn going into East Edison? Shane, is that kind of like what we're looking at, to eliminate the turn into East Edison from Yakima Valley Highway?
Correct. Yes, that really right there at O'Reilly's.
And looking at the map that we have here, the trucks are pointing towards East Edison. So I'm thinking they're coming in through the back end of where Sunsteel is at, and then they exit East Edison either right or left there. So I'm not sure if that makes a difference for council members.
And a lot of them do come in that way, come in off of Morgan Road and come in that way through WorkSource. And then when they leave, they go back out on Edison and take a left or a right, like you're saying, onto Yakima Valley Highway. But some do try to make that corner at O'Reilly's, though.
You know, we can say where they're coming from all day long. You got trucks coming out of Kansas, Missouri, Texas. They aren't sitting there reading, where does the city of Sunnyside want me to drive? They're coming in and they're following their GPS. They're not familiar with the town at all. We run semis. We've ran Florida, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, you name it. Towns that don't do a good job of laying out the truck routes are horrific to get through. And as the town grows, they just get worse. And I think we need to start doing things right.
Mr. City Manager, what will be the consequences of us not going through with this?
At this point, it would end the project, and we would return the funds to TIB because the scope of the project was for sidewalk safety improvements on the north side of East Edison. That was what was applied for and approved. Given that the corporate parent of the mall has essentially refused all communication for the last, since early last summer, or refused to respond to any attempts at communication by the county, HLA, or the city. The chance of the time window for completing this is narrow because we have to begin construction by June to meet the TIB grant deadline. The other alternative or consideration is, as Director Fisher pointed out, the acute angle on the south side of Edison, which is not in the scope of this project as approved by TIB, is an issue currently, has been for a number of years. It may be that part of a future transportation plan will need to include a look at rounding that corner a little bit and making a change to the placement of the traffic signal that is currently there at that point. That would be, some of that is in city right-of-way, some of that is potentially on private right-of-way or private property. But that could be something looked at in the future to mitigate the impacts of that angle, which is a problem even today. But it would require an adjustment to the positioning of that light signal, and so I don't think we've had a chance to even provide a rough estimate of what that might cost, but that might be the best long-term solution for that intersection. Director Fisher, is there anything? Is that a fair scenario?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Brosman?
Yeah, so I have a question related to that. I'd like to see this project go forward because we've been talking about this for quite some time, and we are considering, the safety of our students as they go back and forth from the high school over to YV Tech. And so how complicated is it? And I'm not a truck driver. I pass them on the highway. That's about my experience with them. But how complicated is it to update our truck route so that any trucker who is not from this area and is following his GPS would be directed over to Morgan Road so that he would come into the mall from the north side and not make that turn by mistake?
That could, this is the city manager, that can be done through a combination of steps. As Director Fisher pointed out, part of it is signage, and the other part of it is the process for gaining approval for changes to truck routes through the Washington State Department of Transportation. DOT has a periodic process for doing that and for entertaining those suggestions based on traffic counts and data. The city last year conducted a study and actually submitted a series of truck route adjustments proposed to the state. The city's truck routes had become fragmented in a number of areas. We understand that the department is still in the process of finalizing that. They publish new truck routes once every 5 years on a new truck route map that then becomes part of GPS and so forth. So we were fortunate in that the cycle that we hit was that 5-year cycle. We expect that to be published sometime later this year in 2020. That's the routes that I mentioned earlier that already show that turning right onto Edison, turning eastbound onto Edison from YVH is not the approved truck route. There is, however, on that map, mapping off of 241, also off of Scheller Road. It does not suggest Morgan Road as an option. That would have to be a change proposed in a future mapping cycle.
Okay, it seems to me, Mr. City Manager, then that most of the truck drivers who do come in from the north side of the mall are coming in off of Morgan Road and making that turn along the back of the mall so that they can back into the loading bays.
Yeah, that appears to be so. It's just not the, it's almost treating it like an extended driveway rather than as a trucking route over a major arterial.
Well, and Morgan Road is a dead end over there at Can-Am, so.
Yes.
All right, Council. So what is the desire of Council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have one more comment. Have we visited with the merchants at the mall to see how it would affect them and their deliveries?
Mr. Councilor Farmer, we were directed not to by the mall management. We had initial conversations about that process. They control the relations between them and the mall. It's a corporate partnership. And Yakima County raised that prospect with them, direct contact, and they were advised that that was not appropriate.
Okay, so we'll try this one more time. What is the desire of council on this item?
I would move to approve on the project. This
I'll
is John Henry.
Pardon?
So I have a motion by John Henry to approve. Did I hear a second?
You did, Mr. Mayor. Jim Restucci seconds.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Henry, seconded by Councilmember Restucci to authorize the city manager to execute an addendum to the East Edison Avenue Improvement Project to allow HLA Engineering to redesign the sidewalk and travel lanes along East Edison Avenue adjacent to the Valley Mall. Any debate on this item?
I have to comment.
Yes, sir.
My personal feeling is to hold off on it, and if the mall doesn't want to return phone calls, start working toward eminent domain. And we got to preserve the integrity of our intersections where we don't start creating bottlenecks, especially the mobile home park going in there on East Edison. We're going to have some huge bottlenecks once that goes in, and then trucks coming to a turn to delivery. And it doesn't matter what the sign says. You got a truck that's stuck, you got a problem. And I just think we need to address it right before it gets too late, before the city grows and it's worse.
And I would agree with Councilor or Deputy Mayor Stremler. I just think that we're just a little premature. I think some more stuff has to be done before I could see my way approving this. I agree. It would certainly beautify the intersection. It would certainly beautify the city of Sunnyside, but I just think we're getting the cart before the horse here.
Any additional debate? Okay, hearing no additional debate, City Clerk will start the roll call vote.
Sorry, I was muted. Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
No.
Councilor Farmer,
No.
Councilor Henry,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Councilor Broersma.
Yes.
Okay, 4 yes and 2 no's. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is going to be item B, which is the Sunnyside Cal Ripken Agreement. Consider authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Sunnyside Cal Ripken, allowing them to utilize the baseball fields facilities located at South Hill Park. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, this is a renewal or an extension of an agreement that's been in place for two prior terms, each 5 years, I believe, and it enables this organization to make use of the ball fields at South Hill Park, and in exchange, they commit to making annual improvements at the site. And I'll ask Director Fisher to describe the agreement details in more detail, I should say.
Thank you, Mr. Casey, members of council. Yeah, this is a renewal of agreement. The previous agreement actually was a 10-year agreement. I think the one prior to that was also 10 years, but I wasn't here then. And did some talking with the board president. We decided to do a 5-year term on this agreement. Just because it's a little bit easier to get their brains kind of in the mode of doing projects. Trying to plan out 10 years worth of projects has planned to be a challenge for those boards, because, you know, parents kind of come and go as kids play a few years at Cal Ripken and then they leave and then new people come in and get involved. So we decided to do a 5-year agreement. And as you can see here on the cover sheet, they have 6 projects listed on here. And just keep in mind with these projects that some of them, as you can see, are easily a 1-year type deal, relatively low cost. But when you look at something like perimeter field lighting, which is probably $30,000 to $50,000, that's probably something that's going to take several years to get planned and actually put in. So that one is kind of a pipe dream, I think, for them. But of course, they include it on here because maybe they'll have a big donor, somebody will donate some money, maybe they can get that done. So it's been a great relationship with Sunnyside Cal Ripken. We support those type of sporting programs. So it was a no-brainer to go ahead and extend this another 5 years. With that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Stremler, any questions?
None.
Councilor Farmer?
No questions, but a comment. I think we need to get behind these people. They do a wonderful service to the youth in our community, and I think not to do this would be a disservice to them and to the community.
Councilor Henry? Did we lose Councilor Henry? I don't see him on the list anymore. Oh no, he's there.
I apologize. I was on mute there. I was going to make one comment. I was going to say that all the parents and the children bring in revenue, so to deny that to the city is just silly. I'd have to agree with Farmer. It's also looks good for the city and all counts. So I'd also like to move on this when the time comes.
Councilor Restucci?
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Boersma?
Well, I would tend to agree with my colleagues here, Mr. Mayor. I think the Cal Ripken program is phenomenal. It's been with the city for a few years now, and they've done an excellent job. This is great for the kids. It's great for the community. I think, yeah, it would be absolutely foolish for us to not continue this agreement.
Thank you for all those comments. And also, thanks, Shane, for bringing this into a 5-year. I think it does focus a little bit more into having some goals get achieved a little bit sooner rather than later, thinking to have 10 years to get some of these goals done. Having 5 years puts maybe a little bit more of a pressure on trying to accomplish some of these within that time frame versus having double that time. So thank you for that. Okay, what is the desire of council on this item?
I move to approve. This is John Henry.
And I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Henry, seconded by Councilmember Boersma to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Sunnyside Cal Ripken, allowing them to utilize the baseball fields facilities located at South Hill Park. Any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, the city clerk will start the roll call vote.
Mayor Guerrero?
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Stremler?
Yes.
Councilor Farmer?
Yes.
Councilor Henry?
Yay.
Councilor Restucci?
Yes.
Councilor Boersma?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, up next we have items from council members. Council request status report, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Candidly, with so much of these activities dependent on partners that are affected in some way or another by the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been almost no movement since the last updates on any of these. For example, the tree replacement plan, the nurseries and so forth that we tend to work with have been shut down for the most part by the stay-home orders. And most of these were also going to come up. We're going to be dependent on the summer construction season. So unless there's any specific questions on an item or Director Fisher or anybody has a further update, that's all we have for the time being.
Council members, any additional items you want to add on to the council request status? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is looks like other reports, announcements, and/or questions by council. We'll go down the list. Deputy Mayor Stremler.
Nothing on the status report, no.
What about announcements or questions by council?
Pardon?
Do you have any reports, announcements, or questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Councilor Farmer?
No.
Councilor Henry?
I'm good this week, thank you.
Councilor Restucci?
Nothing to report this week, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Hick? Councilor Broersma?
Thank you, sir. Just one comment. I've been paying my water and utility bills online for the last several years. And I went to do that today and I noticed that the express bill pay portion of our website was not functioning. Considering that we're asking our people not to congregate at City Hall and pay their bills, has that problem been fixed, or were you guys aware of that?
I had not heard any report on that. This is City Manager. So no, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I don't believe we'd had any report of that.
Actually, I do have a report of that.
You? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say I have a report too. So,
so I received an email from Express Bill Pay due to the large number of people that are going online and setting up new accounts. It has overwhelmed their servers, and they are actually having to install new hardware. As we are not the only city that they serve. They actually serve quite a bit of cities all along the west and east coast. So they basically sent an email that they knew they were going to have to take both sites. So there's two sites. One's an admin side, which is where when you walk into our office, we use the admin side. And then there's a customer side. All month they've been having problems with the customer side running at the same time as the admin side, and they've had to shut one or the other down. Today they had to shut both down from 12 to 1:30. So that email went out. I forwarded it to my staff so that they would be aware if they got phone calls to let people know that they were having some problems. And they're trying to solve it, but they are really actually just being overwhelmed with traffic right now.
and that's what I was going to add. Their backbone provider is in our league as well. There's tier 2 backbone provider, and we've all been receiving the same errors. So many people are getting online right now to try and work from home that it's causing real problems with the tier 2 and tier 3 backbone of the internet, which is basically your internet service providers and above. Hosting services are having the same problems as well. And it's all about congestion right now.
Thank you for those reports. Any last announcement or report by council members?
I think a little bit choppy coming over the phone. I have a question I would like to ask when the appropriate time arrives.
The time is now, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Go right ahead.
Okay. Where are we at on mutual aid with the agreement with Grandview? Is there any movement on that with the fire department?
Mr. City Manager?
The city manager or city administrator Cus Ortega and I had met right at the beginning of the pandemic. We had a very good conversation. I think we had just sort of started laying the groundwork for that. I'll ask Chief Anderson to weigh in if there's been any further conversation at the staff level. I think that's where we left it, was that the chiefs were going to continue having conversations.
I'm here, Chief Anderson. Yes, we've been working on it. as some of you are aware, the countywide, I brought this up before, the countywide mutual aid agreement between all the jurisdictions in the county is up for renewal this year. We had gotten pretty close to getting it on the agenda for consideration. There was a little bit of glitch, so it's kind of been backed off a little bit. We also, with that, it's the time of the year that we are able to, in the current mutual aid agreement that's still in effect, update our response matrices. And so the chiefs have, even though this COVID thing has precluded us from having face-to-face meetings, we have been working fairly diligently trying to use Zoom as well to update our response matrices so that we can move closer to automatic aid. I know that there's some work right now to increase not only the mutual aid part, but the Lower Valley, several or probably quite a few of our first due mutual aid partners have all verbally agreed to move forward with starting towards automatic aid with a collective goal of driving down our fire rating collectively and throughout the area. So we're working on it. One of the challenges is going to be for us with this moving forward until without being able to meet in face-to-face groups, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge because we can easily say on paper how we want things to work, but before it's finalized and updated and entered into the computer-aided dispatch system, we would like to do sort of a tabletop exercises and at least talk it out of how this is, if this and that, and et cetera, so that it's going to be crystal clear to everybody. So that's where we're kind of waiting on, is that once we can see face-to-face, do these tabletop exercises and then bring it to council for final consideration.
Any additional questions, reports or announcements from council?
I just want to thank Chief Anderson for his comments on it.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have our upcoming council meetings. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have two more meetings that will be working out. I appreciate everybody's patience tonight as we've been working out how to conduct business virtually. We have two more meetings that will be subject to those requirements, at least as the current stay home, stay healthy orders stand. Those are for April 27th, the regular business meeting, and the May 4th workshop. On April 27th, our focus is a little more financial, and we'll have our proposed first quarter budget amendments. At this point, most of that will be a set of some technical corrections and adjustments from the adoption of the 2020 budget, and then the actions to bring the budget into line with the various collective bargaining agreements that the council has been approving. We also will have, we're just kind of learning about an opportunity that has come up. The Federal Aviation Administration has notified us of a potential opportunity to swap a funding entitlement. We'll go into more detail on that, but basically we're awarded an entitlement on an annual basis and we have to expend it, or it's kind of a use it or lose it scenario. But you can swap entitlements with another jurisdiction in a different time frame. And by doing that, you still preserve the ability to have that funding when you might need it for your project. There's another city that is in need of some entitlement dollars. We have an entitlement that there's no plan or project to expend for this year. By swapping that, it preserves that funding for us at a future date. And the FAA contacted us in late March about this idea, see if we would be interested. And so Director Fisher, as the airport manager, is developing that proposal and will be bringing that to you on April 27th. We also are working on an adjustment to the fire inspection ordinance. This is collaboration between the fire department and finance departments. We're, again, as Chief Anderson mentioned a moment ago, this is another step towards helping with the MRSB ratings for reducing insurance costs by implementing a fire inspection program for businesses. The council adopted an ordinance and fee structure in 2018. We've been working to implement it. It was adapted from a larger jurisdiction. We're finding that it can be streamlined to work more effectively for Sunnyside's needs, and so those refinements that the chief and finance director are working on to bring before you. We also have a couple of discussion items. We had deferred a presentation on the police department reserve program, and we had also had a request from council member for a discussion around our current parking and vehicle ordinances, and have the city attorney provide kind of an update on the current lay of the land in terms of regulating vehicles and parking and homelessness. And so we've got that queued up for April 27th. And then finally, depending on where governor's orders are and the status of public health orders in the state, that would be the meeting at which you would consider whether you wish to extend or modify the current emergency resolution in place for the COVID-19 pandemic. And at this time, we do not have specific topics set up for the May 4th workshop. We could either entertain new topics as council has a chance to give thought to that, or possibly move one of the discussion items off the April 27th agenda and on to May 4th, if that's council's preference. But we'll work with mayor and deputy mayor on scheduling and getting those things worked out.
Council members, if you wish to add anything to our agenda meetings, please do so by reaching out to Jackie, city manager, or myself, and we'll get those on there for you. And depending on April 27th, if there's nothing to have in the workshop, we will definitely consider canceling that or moving some of those discussion items over if we feel like it's going to be a long meeting for the April 27th. Any things you guys want to add at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move up to our item number 6, which is going to be a closed session for 20 minutes. Police Officers Guild Collective Bargaining Agreement, RCW 42.30.140, subsection 4, subsection B, to plan or adopt a strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations, or grievances or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in the negotiation or proceedings while in progress. Possible action. I will ask the city clerk to please remove everyone from the meeting except council members and city manager Martin Casey to start the closed session.
Mayor,
Mr.
did we
Mayor,
have items from?
Did I skip
go
one?
ahead, Jackie.
Oh, yes, I sure did. Sorry about that. So we'll go ahead and move back one item, which is going to be 5 items from city manager and department heads. That way they can cover those items. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, since it has been a while since we've had a chance to meet virtually or together, wanted to take some time and update both council and the public on the city's COVID-19 pandemic response. And then you'll also hear from some of the department heads about some of their activities. We had actually begun preparing for the pandemic in February, reviewing our emergency plans and response plans. I think over the past month, we've provided about 20 status updates to council. We've also provided almost a dozen updates in different forms on our public website. And just to recap the speed with which the pandemic has affected the county, it was 1 month ago today, on March 13th, in my brief to council, that Yakima County was announcing its first 3 cases. 1 week later, on March 20th, we had grown to 10 cases. On March 27th, to 72. On April 3rd, to 289. And as of last Friday, April 10th, we had 507 cases. Tonight, the county is reporting 614 cases. Of those, 25 county residents have passed away, and 25 more are currently hospitalized. Public health officials advise that these figures significantly undercount the actual infection rates in our valley. Testing is limited, and most persons infected or capable of transmitting the virus never show serious symptoms or seek medical attention. Public health officials urge residents to continue to follow the stay home, stay healthy orders. Part of our public outreach included a video public service announcement on the city website and YouTube that has already received about 700 views. And we are seeing some encouraging trends. Although in the past week, Yakima Virginia Mason Hospital officials warned that COVID-19 is not expected to peak in the county until late this month, and they still expect to see new cases well into May and June. The city is also monitoring the economic impacts of the pandemic. Nationally, in April, the percentage of renters who could not pay their rent on time increased from 18% to 31% compared to March. 17 million new unemployment claims were filed during the past 3 weeks, and in Washington, we averaged about 162,000 new claims per week during that period. The governor has temporarily halted evictions due to non-payment of rent because of the pandemic, and several counties and cities have either suspended late fees or penalties, as we have, or deferred payments for taxes and utilities. Today, the governor announced that Washington is joining with Oregon and California to coordinate for the eventual reopening of our economies and controlling COVID-19 in the future. Each state will develop specific plans and strategies, and more information is going to be made available at coronavirus.wa.gov. We are tracking information on the various programs and funding coming through federal and state COVID-19 stimulus packages. I currently serve on the board of the Yakima County Development Association, which is among the economic development agencies that are being tapped to coordinate the flow of information and assistance to affected businesses throughout the community. They've helped over 100 businesses navigate some of these new grant and loan programs already, and they are posting extensive information and updates to their website at chooseyakimavalley.com. This week, YCDA's board will actually meet virtually, and then I'll be taking part in the first of a month-long series of new weekly webinars conducted by the state's City County Managers Association on preparing for COVID-19 revenue impacts. The city has moved quickly to implement public health guidance around the workplace as it has become available, including social distancing, limiting access, enacting telework policies and practices, and each department has taken steps to respond to the pandemic while still delivering essential services. I'll ask each department head to speak to some of their efforts in turn. In closing, I just want to recognize the terrific efforts by city staff to adapt to all the changes required by the pandemic while still delivering these critical services, and of city residents who have been working so hard to stay informed, to remain calm, and to care, and for following the social distancing guidelines. Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to, well, you're not all at the table in front of me, so I'm not sure whoever would like to go first. I think normally Chief Anderson is first up.
Okay. All right, this is Chief Anderson. In reference to the COVID stuff, we were very proactive early on with this. We do follow the Yakima County Health District's guidance, and our new medical director, Dr. Kevin Hodges, had also put out some guidance. And more recently, the county health doctor, Dr. Everson, and Dr. Hodges together collectively put out a guidance and new EMS patient care protocols for us, which addressed just about every possibility that we had run into prior to that. Basically, for us, our only challenges is getting the personal protective equipment. Right now, we're doing okay. We're ordering it on a week-by-week basis. It comes in, sometimes it comes in large quantities, sometimes it's not coming in at all, unfortunately. What we have done as far as response Our call volume has changed quite a bit in the last, probably in the last week or so. We're starting to see a lot more retirees and elderly type patients with more respiratory complaints. Part of that is also maybe the with the pollen and the blossoms and blooms and stuff. But anyway, we're treating everybody proactively. That right now we send ambulance crew only. Before we used to send quite a few people, but then right now we're having the second wave of manpower or staffing and equipment sort of stage back away from the we're treating it like a hazardous sort of zone. That way the first crew will be able to go in, assess the patient. If they need more help, then we come in and help. If not, we're limiting exposures that way and maintaining our social distancing. We've also put cleared dividers between the driving compartment of the ambulances and the patient compartment in the back. We're deconning the ambulances more frequently in between every call and then once or twice throughout the day. And we're also monitoring our staff. They come in every morning and they're getting their temperature taken twice a day. And then we send that information off to our hospitals and our other healthcare facilities. But other than that, we've been lucky, and I think we're still able to provide the top-notch care that the community is used to. So we're doing our best. Thank you.
Director Fisher? Did we lose Shane?
He's no longer on.
Okay. Director Alba?
Good evening. I just wanted to say that we have had a total change in our finance department, and it has been really, really nice to see that we can all still get our jobs done and do the things that we need to do. We still are having a large number of customers coming to City Hall to pay. That is a good thing and a bad thing. We would like to keep our revenues up, but we also want to make sure that the customer is limiting their own exposure. We've basically set it up so in the vestibule, there's a table with a phone. We can call them and talk to them and direct them how to make their payments. We have 2 drop boxes now, one inside the vestibule and a newer, larger one out on the street. The finance staff are rotating schedules to provide minimum staffing. We have 1 person teleworking full-time and 1 finance tech teleworks on rotation. And that leaves 2 finance techs working on site daily and 1 supervisor. So last week, Delilah was off and she actually was on a leave. And then I was in the office. Now this week I am on telework and she is in the office, and we will rotate that schedule every other week. Court is being held using Skype and social distancing when they do have to have someone in the courtroom, which you all remember from our last meeting of City Council. Recreation has taken this time to clean, organize, and inventory, and also doing future planning for events that we can hope hold this summer. IT has been very busy setting up computers, Wi-Fi for telework. So we've all had to kind of pull our weight and do some things that we may not be used to doing, but it is working, and we're getting the work done that needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, this is Mr. City Manager. We did confirm that Public Works Director had to head home. Chief Escalera, would you like to go forward?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Much like the other directors, we've made some significant adjustments in order to, and how we do business and how we are trying to promote our social distancing and at the same time maintain visibility and response times to our constituents. However, the public that we serve is also understanding that much of our practices have changed in the sense that we're doing a lot of phone calls for calls and situations where we can't readily apprehend somebody, then most of that information is being held over the phone, and reports are still being taken. The proactivity, we have slowed that down in order to avoid any unnecessary contact with the public. Only those things that are absolutely necessary that we actually do. So we've increased our visibility patrols in order to make sure that folks know that we're out and about. However, we aren't conducting as many traffic stops or things of that nature in order to avoid that or to maintain the social distancing. We still respond, obviously, to the mandatory requirements, all domestic violence reports, things of that nature. We will go inside houses for domestic violences. Other responses that we go to, it's all depending on what the type of call it is, whether we enter a house or we call them out. So there's just some adjustments, many adjustments like that. The jail has been, prior to this, really coming down on everyone. I sat with the judge and the prosecutor both, and one of my sergeants, and so we sat and we went through the roster in order to clear the jail out, and basically began stifling the incoming process for those that were just not necessary to bring to jail. We can handle that at a later date. And so with the help of the prosecutor and the judge, we were able to go through the list of the inmates that we currently have, those that were nonviolent, non-combative, out at the arrest scene, or the reason why they are there, were released early, which minimized the amount of people that we have. Now, with that said, we have had a steady amount of individuals coming into the jail, but nothing that's unmanageable. And again, we do lock down as much as we possibly can in the holding cell area in order to avoid them going back to the pods unless we absolutely have to put them back in the pods. So we've made adjustments to the arrest protocols as to misdemeanor arrests and misdemeanor warrants. Those have been minimized greatly in order to reduce our jail or inmate population, and also minimizes our exposure rates considerably. The same with our visitation. We've really locked that down to where it's just online only, which has worked out quite well. That minimizes the amount of people that we have in the lobby, and also in and out of the main travel portions of the hallway, where both our employees and the public would actually meet behind the walls, to facilitate visitation. So that's really helped out quite a bit. In reception, same kind of situation there. We have sealed the windows. There is no passable air, no positive airflow going into reception. So when the door opens, the receptions and records clerk is not hit by that. However, we still have her available there to handle calls in order to minimize the amount of calls that are going into dispatch. And so she still is working diligently up front and assisting our public by taking things through the glass, basically looking at the stuff through the glass, and then she routes them either electronically, or we write the information down and we do the follow-up for the individual. But most of those things have basically been rerouted in order to avoid any kind of contact with paper or opening the glass to where it exposes our employees behind the walls. So there are a lot more that we have put into play, and everybody's adjusting well, or as well as they could be. We have currently all of our investigative unit, our crime analyst, and our 2 SROs are on the teleworking program as we speak. And we had to pull that amount from the Law and Justice Center, which my thought was to provide basically a reserve force in the event that we did have somebody fall ill, whether it's to COVID or to any other form of sickness, and I had to pull somebody from the commission ranks in order to fill the schedule, that is my commission force right there. So we want to sequester them as quickly as possible, in which we did. And they're currently primarily working from residence. However, all interviews and forensic interviews, all those things that are still being conducted in the field are being held at the office or at the respective offices where the county has established. All of administration are still there. Myself, the commander, are still there, and we are in and out trying to minimize our exposure as well, but yet still be seen and be out on the streets with the guys once in a while. So it's working out. Many adjustments, but so far nothing major, and I think we're still able to pretty much cover everything that we're doing. We're just minimizing the amount of productivity we're doing. However, we are maintaining our emphasis on gang activity and suspicious circumstances. Those are the areas that we really need to watch. We've had some gang activity that's been significant in the neighboring communities and coming in this way, so they're starting to reappear. And so for a while there was a bit of a lull, but they're starting to come back out. So that's where the police department stands at the moment.
Any additional reports, Mr. Casey?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to our next item, which will be our executive session. So closed session, 20 minutes, Police Officers Guild Collective Bargaining Agreement, RCW 42.30.140, subsection 4, subsection B, to plan or adopt a strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations, or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in the negotiations or proceedings while in progress. Possible action. I will ask the city clerk to please remove everyone from the meeting except the city council members and city manager Martin Casey to start the closed session.
Mr. Casey, did you need Chief Escalera there as well, or just you and council?
It could be helpful if council has questions about some of the points of negotiation, but I leave that to the mayor's discretion.
Okay.
I'm okay with that, unless a councilman has an objection.
Very good.
Okay, so I'm putting Ken in the waiting room unless he just wants to hang up.
Can we go, or do we have to, or do you want us to wait?
Chief Anderson, yeah, I would say at this point, if you wish to leave, you'd be excused. We don't anticipate any further departmental business other than from the police.
Okay,
police
thank you.
department.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna put in waiting room. Okay, I have Chief Escalera, Mr. Casey, Councilor Restucci, Councilor Farmer, Councilor Henry, Deputy Mayor Stremler, Councilor Broersma, and Mr. Casey. And I will be back in 20 minutes. I'm going to turn my volume down.
Okay, so we have 7:55. Right. We'll start our 20 minutes and we'll be back in 20 minutes. So Mr. City Manager.
Oh, one second. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay, we're back in open session.
We're back in.
Okay, so what is the desire on council on this item?
I'd move to approve that we approve the new guild.
I'll second. This is Jim Restucci, that we agree to the guild collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Henry, second by Councilmember Restucci to approve the Sunnyside Police Guild collective bargaining agreement as presented. Any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, the city clerk will start the roll call vote.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Yes.
Councillor Farmer,
Yes.
Councillor Henry,
Yes.
Councillor Restucci,
Yes.
Councillor Boersma.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, and I just want to thank City Manager, Police Chief Escalera, and all those involved in getting this collective bargaining agreement completed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further items? It looks like that's the end of our agenda. Unless we have an objection, we'll just call this meeting to order. I mean, this meeting adjourned at 8:17 p.m. You have no objection? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
everyone.
night.
And,
Good night.
it was a good learning experience tonight. So I guess have a good rest of the evening.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, bye everybody.